On today's podcast, your hosts, Chris Nicole and TC, discuss the 2023 Mr. Olympia results. Hello, everybody. We just wanted to take some time to discuss the most prestigious bodybuilding event of the year, bringing all of the world together. TC and I did not attend the Olympia this year. Sad. I had a lot of FOMO. But but we made the most of it. Not everyone can afford to attend the Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
But we did watch the live stream.
Probably was better with my injury.
Yes, that's a good point.
So quick life update. I tweaked my back, got a little slap happy on doing some squats, and did squats one day and felt absolutely fantastic. And 2 days later, decided it was a good idea to go back and try to do the same thing again and just tweak something. It was just a little muscle strain, but it really was pretty debilitating. So riding around in a car was okay until it was time to get out of the car. And on our trip home, there were a couple times where I was in tears. It was very painful. Much better now. But I think watching the live stream gave us a chance to kind of lay in bed with each other and talk about it as it was happening. And we got a little workout in on Saturday in between, so it was still good.
Yeah, it was a crazy week or month. It all just blurs together.
Yeah.
Down in Florida, we had a lot of really made some exciting connections. We'll be making some announcements later. But Florida was super busy, and then it ended with DC's injury, and so it's just time for us to get back home. And also, we do actually enjoy watching the live stream. Actually, I mean, I always do. It's cool to be there in person and see it live. There's nothing like that. I'll never take that away from an event like that. The vibe, the energy, it's just surreal. But there is also a plus to watching it through a live stream. There's a lot of commentary. There's a lot of, I watched a lot of athlete interviews. You do learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just different. And I think, if you financially can't afford to fly across the country or wherever you're from and pay for the expo tickets and all of that good stuff, you can at least pay for the live stream and catch up. So
yeah, and the expo tickets, man, that's like the cheapest part.
That's true.
So I think what we found worked really well for us is going to the expo, watching prejudging in person so that we could see the bodies in person, and then watching the live stream for the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, that was my favorite thing that we've done. I think the first year that's what we did. And that was, I think, my favorite.
We did for the Arnold too.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
It was the most cost effective way for us to attend the event and get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we do try to make sure that we stay up to date with the big events, especially being coaches in the industry. We have to watch for the trends, and there's been a lot of changes actually this year. So we'll go over some of the criteria that's been evolving as the sport has. And we'll go through, we're not going to go through every single category. We're going to talk about the things that we know and study, and we'll leave the rest of the experts to talk about the categories we're not as familiar with. So we'll be covering men's bodybuilding, obviously bikini, wellness, men's classic, obviously. We're going to talk about the categories we compete in, and men's physique and fitness, because there's some big things, and wheelchair. Okay, so we're covering a lot of things.
Yeah, basically not 212 and not women's physique or figure.
We're not as familiar with those categories. We will talk about Sydney locking in figure again, but
okay, we're probably going to touch on most of them because there's a new 212 champion too. He dethroned the Giant Slayer, so
that's true.
Took Sean Clearidge down, and so let's start with bikini. How's that? That's
start with
your
the
bread and
good
butter
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Yeah. Okay. We'll start talking about bikini. Everyone who's in bikini still listen to the end. Yeah. Okay. So bikini. We'll start off with telling everyone I actually was very excited to see green on the stage this year. Uh, that is the color that I wore for my debut for 2023. So I made a joke to one of my very good friends. I told her that both Jen, Dory, and Ashley called me and asked what color they should wear to the Olympia, and I told them that they should wear the green color I wore, and they both showed up in amazing green. So, yeah, no, they didn't call me, guys, but
No, they called me.
they called you.
Your bodyguard.
Also, some of the top bodybuilders were wearing green. Hottie was wearing green.
It was a big color this year.
Samson was wearing green.
I think last year it was like blue, purple. This year is, I think the year before that was more red. So yeah, it's interesting how like a lot of the trends kind of shift and follow.
Classic stays black.
Yeah.
They stay classic. Classic stays classic.
Yeah, but they're getting smaller and smaller. It's almost like they're gonna move to bodybuilding shorts.
Those
anyway,
bottoms
so
are
it's
small. They are
crazy.
getting smaller. But yeah, okay. So aside from, I mean, yes, I was seeing a ton of bikini pros winning in red this year. Red was like the color I was seeing it everywhere. I think it was, oh shoot, I forget which show it was. Either Pittsburgh Pro. I think it was Pittsburgh Pro. I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but like the top 4 people were all wearing red. It was all dark hair, red suits. So seeing that trend happening, I was curious what was going to show up on the Olympia stage and was very surprised by the green colors. I know Ashley is a angel competition suit athlete, and Jen Dory is toxic. So it was interesting to see the two different, they're both green, but there was a little bit different. So if you're looking for suits, that's what they were wearing. And what else? I mean, as always, it's completely ridiculous how these judges pick a winner because they're all just freaking amazing.
Yeah, at this level, they all look very, very similar. And then it boils down to, I think, what look they want to perpetuate for the class going forward for the following year. Like last year, I feel like Maureen was a little softer than some of the girls that she won over.
Yeah, because it was trending in a hard direction. The girls were looking really hard.
Yeah, so I think Tyler Mannion did a very good job putting out those videos this year of like the division qualifications, like what they're looking for. Because I think Wellness was doing that too. It was moving. A lot of these girls were having to use a lot of things to put on the muscle mass needed to do well in these classes, but then they were sacrificing other parts of their look. So.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Like, and there's other categories again that are evolving. I think bikini has kind of stayed within a relatively consistent conditioning level this year, from what I have observed as an audience member and participant. It is definitely like you need to have the glute shape and depth and tie-in conditioning. That's like hands down, like there's no question about that. Speaking of glutes, Laura Lee's glutes, I just don't know how she has the most huge.
Yeah, she added this pose. She used this front pose in which, for those of you not like just listening to podcasts, like we have a picture up. But she added a new pose to her posing routine where she's trying to show her glutes from like literally looking directly at the judges, and you can see them because her glutes are just that big.
Show your glutes from the front. That's like one of my mottos. You should be able to see your glutes from the front. And she did do different posing this year. That's a good point. Her routine was beautiful, but she did like move her hips, and she has such a tiny waist. She can literally stand straight on to a judge and you can see her glutes just shifting from side to side. So, and then when she got to the back pose, man, like I would not want to be a girl standing next to Laura Lee
No.
in a back pose. Like her glutes are they're amazing.
That's a good point though, because she got fourth, and I would say she definitely had the biggest glutes on stage.
She did, yeah.
So, and that's the thing about bikini is it's not just about size. Where I feel like it kind of used to be that you just need bigger glutes and bigger delts, and now it's like the look, whatever look this judging panel is going for.
Yeah,
It's a hard class.
It is a hard class, and a lot of like professionals in the sport say that. Coaches, judges, they say it's a hard category to judge because it is so also dependent on the person's individual physique. So Laurel's got knocked for having too big of glutes in the past. I don't know that was her feedback this year. I kind of wait to see what they post and what they share because it's, I think, silly for me to just surmise what their feedback is. But she wore her classic color. She did great with her posing. She's absolutely beautiful. She won the Arnold this year, so she was coming in with, like a big win on her shoulders, and I do just remember her standing next to Amy Delgado in a lineup. And it was like a mini Laura Lee next to, because Laura Lee is super tall and Amy's a little bit more compact. So that's the other thing that's very cool to see at the Olympia is, the top of the top standing next to each other because they look so. I mean, I was on stage with Amy Delgado and
she won a few shows this year.
She won like 5.
Yeah, she did great this year.
And she won big shows.
Mm-hmm. And she was in top 10, but she didn't make top 5. Let's see, what was she? Amy Delgado, she got 6. So she was pretty close.
Yeah.
Right behind Issa.
Yeah, which Issa looked great this year. I felt like her glutes were more bubbly than they've been in the past. She's always kind of got knocked for not being as tight in her backside. I felt like her conditioning was much better this year. Like she looked much tighter. I mean, I don't even know. She's got a front pose that's like hard to beat. And she wore purple. So that was a new color. I just didn't recognize her at first. She coming out in purple. I was like, I've never seen this girl in that color. I felt like it was a little bit on the dark side. The greens and blues popped. Even red obviously is going to pop. I felt like it was a little bit dark with her tan and her hair color. But obviously it didn't keep her out of the top 5. She looked fantastic. And her posing is also very, very pretty too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I listened to her in the press conference as well. I listened to the meet and greet interviews. That's on live stream. I listened to the press conference. I listened to pretty much as I could listen to. Okay. So in the meet and greet interview, she said that she came in pretty hard for I think it was a Texas Pro. That was her judge feedback. She came in hard. And so she softened up her look, which I feel like coming in hard for Issa, I've not seen often. So she softened up her look, and that's when she won the Clash in August. So, it's really all about that fine tuning for bikini. It's a tough one. I felt like Ashley brought a really good package this year. I felt like her conditioning was great. Her posing is always just a little bit awkward to me.
There's just something about it, man. And for being a gymnast, it's crazy. You wouldn't think.
I think that's it. I think that she has more of a bouncy, more cheerleadery type of feel to her posing, and everyone else just brings a very sultry posing routine, so it kind of stands out. And I think she's that's her personality, so it makes sense for her to pose that way. I don't think if you have that type of personality, you should be trying to do sultry posing. You should stay within what your personality is. But I mean, Maureen's super sultry, so is Laura Lee, so is Jen Dory. So, it's just interesting to see the different people up there. And, if you're looking at this top 5, 4 of the 5 are Miss Olympia. So it was a tough lineup this year.
Laura Lee's just, man, she's fighting for it. She's been in the top 5 for the past, since I've known you.
Yeah.
She's been in I think the first year we were together, I think was her first year breaking into the top. Mm-hmm. And that was when Janet Leigh won.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And, it was when the dark horse first reared her head, and so to speak. And, ever since then, she's been a definite contender. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sure she'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think when you're that close, it's just a matter of time. Mm-hmm. And she keeps showing up.
Especially in the bikini class. Just keep doing it.
Keep
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's a fan favorite for sure. A lot of people love her. They watch her YouTube. She's, I don't know, she's easy to root for, I think. And Maureen. Yes. So Maureen won last year. She came in second this year. I loved her in the red. I thought that was super pretty to see her. She wore pink last year and like shocked the world that pink could win at an Olympia. Because there are some judges that are not fans of pink suits. I've had friends that have worn pink, and the judges have said, "Do not wear that color again." So it's interesting. They're particular about certain colors, but she rocked the world, wore the pink, solidified it. She had red this year, and I have to comment on the platform of shoes that she was wearing. She's so
tall.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's so petite, but she had these like huge platform. I mean, maybe they were huge to me because I don't really wear heels, but
They look like they're like an inch and a half or 2 inches.
yeah,
And she's still the shortest one in this top 5 lineup.
yeah.
So
But she looked so comfortable. I was
Yeah.
amazed at her
Yeah.
posing. Like she definitely has the sass, the walk. She has it,
Mm-hmm.
that it factor. There's no denying it. And I did feel like her tan looked pretty dark to me.
Yeah.
A couple athletes this year, I felt like their tans were really dark. And sometimes I heard some of the commentary as well. Like sometimes when the tan is too dark, which is hard to do, you lose some of the detail in the posing. Now, again, we weren't there in person. We were watching through a screen. So maybe my perception was wrong. But some of the commentary were saying that as well, too. Some of the stuff that I've heard. So, again, just relaying information. We were not there to see the exact tan hue. But yeah, I love Maureen. She was also interviewed in the meet and greet, and I loved what she had to say. They were asking her like her expectations for this Olympia and like her who she was up against and blah blah blah. She said the only one I have to beat here is the current reigning Miss Bikini Olympia, which was her. And I just thought that was so well put. And she made sure to reiterate, in the sport, it's you versus you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just appreciate hearing that from the top of the top of the top of the food chain.
Yeah. Because that can be very difficult to maintain that perspective. You know.
Yeah.
That's what we constantly tell all of our athletes. You can't control who's going to show up to this meet,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't control the look that the judges want to see on that particular day.
Or what your body decides to
Mhm.
do.
Exactly. All you can control is the work that you put in leading up to that show, and everything that you've done since your last stage shot. So it's very important to keep that mentality, and I think it's much easier to stay positive about your progress and stay honest with yourself about your progress when you're comparing yourself to yourself instead of to other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the other thing about all of these women that were on the stage, from number 1 down to, what was it, 47 or something, 49.
I think there were
There are almost 50 bikini competitors this year.
49. I have it in my notes somewhere.
And something that could be said for all of them is their stage presence and the authenticity. When you're on a bodybuilding stage, you have to be yourself and you have to be comfortable, because the judges see that, and that comes across as confidence, and confidence wins shows, you know?
Yeah.
So
There's definitely, I think, personal growth that's directly tied to physical changes within bodybuilding. You do have to put in the work. It doesn't happen just because you're changing your physique. But it allows for that opportunity to evolve as a person. That's another thing I was hearing a lot during when I was listening to all these athletes getting interviewed. Some of them were reiterating the becoming the best version of you. That's what they were saying. And I felt like that's easy to look at physical changes as the best version of you. But they touched on different things about mental, strength, like persistence, just like evolving at a deeper level, as a person, and becoming better versions for the people they loved in their lives too. So I just think that's important to know as well. Athletes, I think we can get the perception of like, okay, well, the top of the top, they sacrifice everything, including their relationships, their like everything to get to that level. And while I do think there are significant sacrifices, they're not sacrificing themselves in the process. They're choosing to evolve.
Well, and I think that the real successful ones, I mean, like, just look at Bumstead. He
Oh,
talks
yeah.
all the time about his circle and how integral it is to have it and how he wouldn't be where he is. And I know for me, it's the same way. I know I wouldn't be as successful as I am today without you.
Oh, same here.
And, you know, it's just, you have to have that, and you have to, like, you have to maintain the appreciation and the gratitude for the people in your circle and for the people who are helping you get, because no one does it alone.
Right.
And if you have that mentality, man, you might have some people who are along for the ride for a little bit, but they're going to get tired of that. You know, they're going to get tired of your big, arrogant, fat head, and
Yeah.
they're going to walk away eventually.
Yeah.
So they're going to get used up, and you don't want to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's important to take care of the people who take care of you, and understand that when you're hangry, you're probably a dick, and and you know, be gracious,
Yeah.
and be patient, and you know, and thank people who have to put up with you during prep.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You pay forward by
Yeah.
then. Which, okay, sorry, we segued. I was almost finished talking about Noreen.
Yeah,
Or Maureen, sorry, not Noreen. Noreen's our neighbor. Maureen. So I also like that she was excited to represent the Philippines. She made note to mention that. And she also made it clear that, you know, winning, she said top 5 at the Olympia to me is winning. And she said it's so hard to get this title. So, you know, winning once is hugely fulfilling to her. She said, I'm just here to party. And I liked that approach. Like, that's very true. All of those statements are so true. And she said, oh, she was also talking about the last time that she had, you know, last Olympia. She said she was standing there squeezing Jen Dory's hand. And she said, I was squeezing her hand to congratulate her for winning. And then they called my name. And she said, I knew that I would win the Olympia at some point, but I didn't know it would be then. And she went from 9th at an Olympia to 4th at an Olympia to 1st, which is a huge climb. I mean, that's historic. A lot of these girls are making history with their placements, but I don't know. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that on the podcast because I really liked what she had to say. I felt like a lot of times they interview people and they're like, they're so far dieted that they're sometimes just grasping for words to try and give a strong message to the audience that's listening. And I felt like what she had to say was very substantial. So, yeah, I mean,
I won't know until I eat and drink ice cream.
oh yeah, that was great. Oh my gosh.
Another segue. Okay.
Yeah.
Focus.
I forget what his name was, but anyhow, we'll finish up with Bikini. So, yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was cool for me to see people that I had stood on stage with too at the Olympia because I had seen them in person and I was like, oh, okay, this is making more sense relative to some of these other athletes that they're with. And everybody that won shows that I was at did great. So, yeah, I was just
Means you're picking the right shows. You're putting yourself against solid competition. You know?
yeah. I mean, this has been the year for me and I think really for all of our athletes choosing difficult shows. Like, everybody has been intentional in picking challenging events. But
if you're not challenged, you're not changing.
I mean, I think that it's something to be proud of. I think that you have to have like resilience because you go in knowing that it's going to be difficult. But I mean, higher shows are going to be difficult. So it's, you know, you live one life, so you might as well like grow as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, what do you want out of it? Do you want to collect some hardware or do you want to, like you said, be challenged, you know? And, you know, on a separate note, you said Maureen said a top 5 at the Olympia is winning. we looked at the last place men's physique competitor, and I said, imagine this physique being last place in a competition. Okay,
Yeah.
so like making it to the Olympia stage, in my opinion, is winning.
That's, I mean, yeah, that's
Oh my gosh.
just, that's why they have Olympian on their Instagram. Like, man, I would put that up there. So yeah, so bikini I thought was very interesting. I did like, what's her name? Ariana Brothers came out of nowhere this year. That's Paul Ravella's client. I mean, obviously he's my coach, so I like to follow his athletes, but I was extremely impressed with her. I thought that she had great detail, like glute volume, good detail. I think her posing is beautiful. Classic red, you can see there. Yeah, I mean, to come out of nowhere and then lock in 7th place at the Olympia, I think is huge. So congratulations to Ariana, if you're listening to our podcast. And also Jen Dory and Ashley, who called me about the green suit. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I think it was really cool. Amy Delgado got 6th. Ashlyn Little got 8th. Daraja came in 9th, which she was wearing blue, I think, this year. I always love her posing. I just think she has a very graceful persona on stage.
Yep, and she's a core nutritional natural athlete. So to be
Okay.
top 10 at the Olympia as a natural athlete is impressive.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I have often thought about like the extreme that it takes to be a natural athlete on the Olympia stage. And I got to throw her some bonus credit, because that's a hard road to walk. And she's definitely someone I admire a lot for a lot of those reasons. But yeah, she's amazing, and she looks great. If you're on YouTube, you can see her. Ta-da. But okay, so we've rambled. Well, I've rambled about bikini for a really long time. We have a couple other people to talk about, but if you want to look at the results, they're posted online. So
Yeah, NPC News Online already has all the stage shots up. They have the placings. I don't see the scorecards on here, but I think we found those somewhere else. But then I feel like some of them were like kind of weird, looking like it was not necessarily.
the official Olympia results scorecards I could not find. They had the 2022 ones up. A couple other websites I think had them up, but some of them they didn't look correct in their standings. So I mean, I would just wait for the official ones. One more thing. When they were announcing, because it was Jen Dory and Maureen holding hands again at this Olympia, the Bob Ciccarello announced, and now your new Miss Olympia, or whatever else he said after that, but he emphasized new, and both of them had been previous Miss Olympias. There was really no way for Bob to make this announcement.
It was a lose-lose for him.
Yeah. But it confused me, because I was like, new? There's no one new. They both have been Miss Olympia, but I think he was making the emphasis that it was going for Maureen.
Well, and then Jen like commented, and he was like, well, I was going to say 2-time, but you were both would have been 2-time. So
Bob was in a corner. Yeah. So Jen Dory's going home with $50,000, Maureen with 20, and Ashley with 12, and Laura Lee with 7, and Issa at 5th place with 6. So congratulations, ladies. Now we'll move on to, let's talk about a male category. You want to talk about classic?
Well, I clicked on men's physique.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about
men's physique. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I actually found this prejudging very entertaining this year. I felt like I really enjoyed watching the expressions of people, like when they were doing the call outs. Brandon Hendrickson, and I'll just preface this with, I'm sorry if I'm saying anybody's name wrong. I'm just not very good at pronouncing everyone's name. And who was the other person?
Aaron Banks, Ryan Terry.
Ryan. When they moved Ryan and Brandon next to each other to split center, I just watching their expression and their excitement, they like grabbed each other's hands and like congratulated each other and were like real hype in the middle of this whole lineup in front of everyone. I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I love seeing people excited about when, and like Brandon was congratulating him. Like they were in it. They were in the mix. They were really excited. Yeah, it was, I mean, I'll be honest, I've never been super excited to watch men's physique. I think it's impressive, but this year I thought they had like great camaraderie. I thought it was very interesting.
Well, I also think like it's very easy to win, and it's relatively easy to be a good sportsman when you're the winner of
Sure.
an event.
Sure.
And your character really comes out when you don't win, when you lose, when you fall a little short.
Yes.
So, and I think we saw a lot of that at the Olympia this year. There were some, dethroned champions. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think Bumstead, well, okay, in the divisions that I am privy to, Bumstead was the only repeat, or returning champion from last year. 212, new champion. Men's Open, new champion. Women's Bikini, new champion.
Figure Sydney Gilligan. She locked in her.
Yeah, so that was the same, and I think Wellness was the same. That was the same winner.
Yes.
But yeah, there were a lot of upsets. Ryan Terry almost came out of nowhere. But he wasn't one of the favorites. I mean, Aaron Banks was the reigning Olympia champion, and then like a couple weeks prior, Aaron Banks lost to this guy, Chiron
Oh,
Holden.
Kyron. Yeah.
They were talking about that, and he ended up taking what, sixth, I think.
Was that at Legion? I heard them talking about
at
Legion.
seventh. So he ended up taking seventh. So he didn't break top 5, whereas Aaron Banks still got the third spot. But it was just it was a very interesting competition this year. So, and at this level, like, it's just so crazy the minute differences that they're looking at, because obviously all 5 of these men's physique guys, they look freaking fantastic. So crowning a champion, I just, we say it all the time, I would not want to be one of those judges.
Well, and they say too that this category is hard for similar reasons that bikini is hard, because it's just the criteria is very
Can't be too big.
yes. Yeah.
So yeah, which on that note, they're instituting weight caps for that this year, right?
They're doing it for a lot. They're oh yeah, and qualifications they're kind of like revamping for next year's Olympia. But yeah, they did do new rule changes for men's physique classes this year.
So after the Olympia, they are instituting new weight limits for men's physique classes. So it's going to be similar to classic physique, where however tall you are, there's a weight cap for how much you can be on stage.
Yeah, they were saying that the men's physique competitors were starting to rival athletes in classic physique. So, I mean, I see that with every category. They just get bigger and bigger, and bigger is better.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they have to start bringing them down.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's really when the division gets more defined as to what the criteria is.
but it's good that those things are in place to help keep it streamlined. Streamline's not the word I'm looking for, but
Uniform.
yeah. So while it does evolve and there are some changes and different things are, whatever, but I think they're doing a better job of trying to keep stuff more succinct. So, okay. Anything else you wanted to talk about men's physique? Ryan Terry finally made it.
Yeah, so Ryan Terry is the winner. He's the new champion. Brendan Hendrickson got second. Aaron Banks got third. So, those two guys, second and third place, they've, they're no strangers to the podium, to a podium finish at the Olympia.
And Ryan got third last year. Oh, no. No, I'm sorry. My notes are I'm reading this wrong. It says that Ryan's his best Olympia placement was a third place, and that was in 2018. So he's been to the Olympia nine times, and he's finally locked it in. So, man, how many times do you have to get to? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, his midsection is crazy. So, like, he definitely deserves a win.
Yeah, he poses straight on.
Yep. And that's exactly, like, if anyone looking on YouTube, I mean, and, number Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4 is posing straight on 2 and 5. They're all three of those guys are kind of straight on, whereas Hendrickson and Aaron Banks are, they're doing the typical men's physique kind of turned pose. But
Which, by the way, posing straight on is not common, easy, whatever word you want to put there.
it's just, man, you have to have those proportions. You got to have these tiny little hips
That's a
and
genetic.
and enormous shoulders, and yeah, it's genetics for sure.
Yeah, because
So-
most people, any category, there's a little bit of twisting of the waist to make the waist look smaller.
Mhm.
So straight on posing is not common, especially if you have like a fuller waistline. So he like got up there and just stood there, just straight
Here I
on.
am.
Here I am. They gave him gold medal and $50,000. So, yeah. Okay. So Ryan got $50,000. Brandon Hendrickson $20,000. Aaron Banks $12,000. Emmanuel Hunter came in 4th place and got $7,000. And 5th placed Diogo Montenegro.
Yeah, which I remember him from last year too. I don't know
Right.
what he played, but I remember that name.
I've
so.
heard him a couple times. Yeah, I think he's been first. Oh, he got 6,000. By the way, great job, gentlemen. Yeah, I thought they had some cool camaraderie things. But okay, wellness. Okay, I just saw. I looked over the picture TC pulled up was wellness. I love this category so much. I love it. I think these girls are absolutely beautiful. Let's see. Well, congratulations. I mean, you've probably seen Francielli has locked in. How many times is this for her? I'm trying to pull up my notes here. I think this was her 3rd. Do you remember? Yeah,
I don't.
3rd title. Yeah, she's won 3 years in a row. I feel like
Well, how's wellness been at the Olympia? Yeah.
so just like Chris Bumstead,
Yeah, she is the wellness look that they're looking for.
which is hard to not see that when you look at her. As soon as she comes on stage and you're seeing her pose, like, yes, the other bodies are impressive, but when you think of wellness, at least when I'm thinking of wellness, as soon as I see her, I'm like, okay, like hands down. Just the aesthetic, because a lot of wellness is getting knocked for not looking healthy, losing femininity, which I think other female categories have fallen into that problem in the past as well. So I know Tyler's been making, he's making videos on everything. But I've heard that that's been feedback for wellness. There's been feedback for waistlines being too large. There's been feedback of being too hard. Feedback of legs being too bigger than glutes. So just like bikini, it is a glute dominant game. Like, yeah, man. I mean, I didn't see one set of bad glutes at this Olympia. No.
Yeah, which you can see, again, anyone on YouTube, you can see that this 2nd place, her legs are bigger than the 1st place.
Oh, Issa.
So, it's not always who has the bigger insert attribute here. It is a specific look that they're going for, but that's why bodybuilding is so hard.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a power lifter.
He dabbles in bodybuilding.
Either you pick it up or you don't.
There you go. But yeah, so Francielli, wellness has been here 3 years and she's defining the category, just like Chris Bumstead has made classic, I think, what it is. So it's pretty cool to see that for a female. And she wore red. I think she looked stunning. I've seen her in red. Red is her color. But it was close. I mean, Isabel Nunez won the Arnold. She came in 2nd this year, but she won the Arnold this year. I just really like Isabel Nunez because she loved Diego so much. We went to I think it was the Olympia last year. No,
Olympia?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
When it was in Florida again. We went to the meet and greet and we took Diego, our dog, with us. And she loves dogs. So, and I think she was standing there. She didn't have like anybody to talk to. So we took Diego over to her and she like got on the floor and was petting him. So anyhow, I like her just for that reason. No, just kidding. I like her for a lot of reasons. She has a great attitude. She has a beautiful spirit. She's like just always so thankful. and Happy, her husband actually is her coach, which I think is pretty cool. It's been cool to see some of these like husband-wife duos happening because Jen Dory also is coached by her husband, Anthony. So yeah, I Isabel, I think, gave Francielli a little bit of a run for her money for sure. Like it was them two, I think, hands down, most like back to back when they were doing a lot of prejudging. It's just, I mean, they just kept moving them two to the middle. But yeah, I thought it was. I'm seeing more consistency within the category this year, which is nice to see. And I think that's pretty much it. I just glutes, glutes, glutes. My ladies, glutes. Okay, so third place was, I'm going to really try and not butcher these names. Elisa Alcantara, $12,000. Fourth place was Rayanne Fogel, $7,000. Fifth place, Giselle. Okay, I know Giselle just by first name basis. Manchado is her last name, $6,000. I didn't see a lot of wellness competitors that I have previously been following. So it was a little bit interesting to see the lineup this year. And I would say that was the stage that was the least packed. I felt like every category I watched, there were tons of competitors. Maybe I'm seeing that wrong. I just felt like
there were some, let's see, 16. So like there were like 25, it looks like.
Okay.
24.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's less than bikini. I mean, it's more than the
women's
some of the
bodybuilding.
It's more than the other female classes. Obviously, far less than men's physique and less than men's classic. So,
you can see where the popular categories are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But wellness is growing fast, and it's a fun category. I love watching them. So, okay, where should we go to next?
Well, let's, I just want to briefly touch on the 212, which I didn't bring up an award picture for the 212.
Go for it.
But Keon Pearson, took out Sean Clarita for the championship. I think Sean was looking for his third or fourth. I can't remember if he had two or three, but I mean, anyone looking on YouTube, like this guy's proportions are just absolutely ridiculous. And his conditioning was on point. Like, I would say this guy definitely deserved the win. So, not that everyone else didn't look fantastic too, but just holy cow. I mean, 212 doesn't get a lot of love because it's basically just miniature men's open. But yeah, I think it's just important to, give a shout out because they still put in a ton of work.
So the 2023 Masters Olympia this year, Kamal was supposed to compete, but he had a family emergency, which there's a lot of that happening this year with people's injuries or sickness. Like, it was a wild Olympia, I would say. So, which bikinis, Jessica Wilson, she won the Masters Olympia this year in Romania, and she was actually kind of not towards the bottom, but she didn't place as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think it was top 16.
Yeah, it was that was surprising.
What was her name?
Jessica Wilson.
Yeah, she was.
So they place
like
them
way
all
down.
Well, they do numerical order. If you don't place, they do 15, and then they place all of the rest of the people as 16th place, and then they do it in alphabetical order, not numerical order. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Does that make more sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like I said, once the scorecards are actually out, it'd be easier to kind of like see. But this is what I mean.
Fallouts and then everyone else.
You can go, and they do. I think like once the scorecards are out, they will have like placements because I did see that from 2022. But you could be at the top of the game, Miss Olympia of the Masters category. And listen, she doesn't look like she looks like everyone else. Sometimes Masters people think that they're like.
She looks great here.
You would never be able to guess any of these people's ages.
Yeah.
I've seen 50-year-old competitors that you would never know. They look like 30-year-olds. So yeah. It was kind of interesting to see some of the Masters Olympians coming over to the original, I don't know what else to call it, Olympia, and seeing their placements and how they stacked it. It's tough. So, yeah, sorry I cut you off with 212.
No, it's okay. That's all. I just want to touch on that. So,
Okay.
yeah, we can move to the, so I guess we can do classic next.
Yeah, let's talk about classic.
We'll save men's open for last. Just
Like they do at the
exactly.
Olympia. Guys, you'll be shocked to see who won. Because you didn't see it all over the internet or Instagram already.
Yep. So.
Okay, so why don't you talk about classic physique?
C-Bum took his 5th title.
He's got the fist. That's what TC says.
Yep, solidifying himself as Mr. Classic for sure.
Because he hasn't done that already.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely modeling the division after him. This guy doesn't compete all year; he competes at the Olympia, and that's it. And he wins 5 years in a row. I mean that's wild. And I will say that Ramon, he gives him a run for his money for sure.
That was cool posing to watch them too.
Yeah, and now they've competed, for a few years with each other. They know each other at this point, and there's a language barrier there, but there's universal language as well.
Yeah,
and I think that there's camaraderie in this sport for sure because they know what everyone goes through, and to be the top 2 people, for at least 2 years in a row. I don't know where Ramon placed in 2021, but I know last year he came in second too. And there's the Dino camp that thinks, oh, he should have won this and the other. I'll tell you what, it's tough because Dino's hips are definitely narrower than Bumstead's, but man, Chris just has the abdominal control that, like, I'm not going to say it's unmatched by anyone, but it's unmatched with anyone with his physique. And you can see Ramon, like he does try to do some ab vacuums as well, but I feel like he hasn't practiced as much because he doesn't need to. His waist is so small that he doesn't have to practice that abdominal control. Whereas Bumstead, when he's relaxed, you can see like he doesn't have a tiny waist when he's relaxed.
That was one thing, TC did point out to me because we were analyzing everybody, just like good audience members do, and they have. But anyhow, you did point that out to me. You're like, check out his waist when he's walking. Now, there's like, he's completely peeled and there's tons of muscle. But if you're watching and you have like, you're looking for those differences, Bumstead can just outpose.
Yeah, he is just, his posing is just amazing.
I especially noticed that when they had the top 2 up there, Ramon and Chris. Like, I think everybody saw that coming. Like, Ramon won the Arnold this year. Like you said, there's a huge fan. They both got their fan clubs. Yeah. We got Brazil and Canada.
Well, Bumstead's got he's got 21 million followers now.
Okay,
so like,
he's got the world.
Cow, yeah.
He's got the world. Yeah, because I did hear people being interviewed, like, who do you want to see here? And people who could barely, like, get English out, they could clearly say Chris Bumstead. Like, but anyhow, when they were posing, the 2 of them, it was like the top 2. It was interesting to watch Chris's demeanor versus Ramon's. Ramon was more energetic, more like here to fight for it, more amped up and excited.
Which he's Brazilian, that kind of comes with the territory.
If you've seen his glutes, you'll understand which country he's from. I was like, thank you, Brazil. But Chris was more stoic. They would jab at each other a little bit, playful jabs, not like trying to get each other, but like they would reach over and try and touch the other person in between poses, or like, Steve Weinberger would call out a pose and they would I saw Ramon look at Chris a couple times and just like hand gesture at him, like, and they would look at each other and just like, it was really cool to watch.
Yeah. It's like you were talking about earlier in the men's physique. Yeah.
Dude, it's interesting to watch different categories and their posing. The bikini girls are beautiful. They're all kind and loving to each other. It seems like they have great camaraderie. But when you watch the men get up there and pose in some of these categories, it's like they're coming for war.
Yeah.
Or they're super playful, or like it's just they're more emotional sometimes, it seems. And And like each category gives something different. Wellness is like spicy and interesting to watch. Like it is just
Well, it's dominated by Latin America.
I
for sure.
freaking love it. I just can't. I want people to come out there, do spins and flip their hair all around because, like, who can do that?
Yeah.
Who can look like that and do that? And, like, Arnold always talks about the entertainment factor of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding can be so boring when it's so, like, militant. And, like, yes, you have your mandatory poses, but when it comes to, like, competition, you need excitement in a sport. And so I really feel like Chris and Ramon brought that this year. Again, Chris would just like very easily like hit his poses and stand there and not freaking move.
He's a statue.
Did he breathe? We don't know. Like he just owned it. There was no shuffling and shifting into positions. It's like he just does this every day, all day. Here I am. So the posing differences were interesting to watch. I do feel like I was more attracted to Chris's posing because it looked confident because he wasn't as like energetic. But that's a personal preference. Like I do think there were some strengths of Ramon that were like that surpassed Chris.
He's coming. He'll win eventually, you know.
I mean, he has it. And they're
Yeah.
similar height,
Yeah.
which is interesting too, to see them battle it out. But Chris, I mean, the conditioning that Chris brought, you cannot, no one was beating that conditioning this year. I've never seen muscle all the way to every plate. There was just muscle.
He's just done a great job at perpetually getting better. And if you look at his progress from his first Olympia, even just to his second one, but if you look from his first to his fifth, it's crazy. How do you keep getting better when you're already that good?
We
But he
are
does
already
it.
number one.
Yeah, but he does it.
Yeah.
Consistently. Every single year, he does not come back with the same package.
And I could see veins in all his, and I'm watching at home on a screen and I could see his vein, like branches. They look like branches all the way up his legs. Like, I really think his coach Hani's doing not that they need my opinion, but I think
Hani's got almost 30 Olympia titles. Okay. Does any other coach have that many?
he's amazing. Yeah. I mean,
He has classic physique and he has open physique now for at least 2 years in a row.
yeah.
Not open physique, but men's open bodybuilding. And he has number 2 in men's open bodybuilding.
You know, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because he coaches Derek Lunsford and Hadi.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
So,
He has someone else too.
oh yeah,
I think he had another men's classic competitor that was highly competitive. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know how this guy sleeps because he's churning out like the top of the top.
yeah, and that's a lot of
constantly.
pressure, you know. But then it comes a point where, okay,
you-
well, I know what I'm doing, I guess.
He has to know what he's doing to be able to manage all of those athletes and do so well. And
Well, and he talked about when Chris first came to him before the Olympia last year, and he was like, "Man, I don't know if I want to take on the responsibility."
oh yeah.
He did say that. So
He said,
even
you want me to coach you?
I thought you just wanted some like tips. Like,
Yeah.
I can answer questions, but man, you want me to take your whole prep? Like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So just for anyone out there suffering from imposter syndrome, we're both raising our hands. Just know that the best of the best also have that. So,
Yeah.
and this guy's won again. I want to say like 24, 27. Chris Bumstead posted it. 24 titles speak for themselves or something. It was him and Hani. So like they got, and I've watched some of their YouTube and they're like conjecture, like when they're talking to each other, it's pretty funny. They're both very comical and you can tell that he's just a great guy. So
Yeah.
I told Chris that he's going to be my coach next year. Yeah. It'll be a day when I can talk to him and afford him. so good luck with that. But yeah, so
I want to be an Olympian too. Make me an Olympian. How many shows have you done? Okay. No, yeah, it's very interesting. I like learning about the coaches as well. Being a coach, it's interesting to me, but also like coaches, the athletes get all the glory and the coaches, I feel like, get all the ulcers. Like the just being in that position where someone's ultimate goal is in your hand and you have to make the calls for that human being. That's a lot of responsibility And so hats off to the coaches that pay attention and care
Yeah.
at whatever level you're at.
And
You're
care about their athlete's health as well, because I know Hani and Chris talk about that as well.
yeah.
His health is paramount. You
'Cause
know,
Chris has an autoimmune disease. So yes, you can be good at your sport.
anyone can pump someone full of drugs and put them on stage and have them look pretty good for a show or two.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a real good quality coach to have you keep coming back year after year winning these titles.
And Chris has verbalized what he will and will not
Mm-hmm.
do in his preps and coaching. You know, there's stuff he knows that he does not want to put in his body, and he draws that line, and his coach respects that, and
Obviously, what they're doing is still working.
it's working. So
Yeah.
you just have to know your physique, and you have to be able to relay that with your coach, and that it has to be you have to link arm in arm
Yeah.
to be able to make those goals. Like there cannot be a power struggle between you and the athlete, or the athlete and the coach. Like it has to be cohesive.
There has to be trust for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that you like kind of pointed out to give them props. I felt like that as a goalie in lacrosse growing up. If you lose, it's all your fault.
Right?
And
Yeah.
if you win, no one cares that you pitched a shutout. It doesn't matter. It matters that they scored a bunch of points.
Yes.
So you're just on the sidelines like, oh, well, screw me then, huh? You know?
I think
But
in every sport there is that.
Yeah.
There is the golden
the quarterback in football,
yeah.
you know?
and there's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was thinking a lot about the coaches. I was thinking about my coach when his athletes were up there. I'm like, I wonder what he's thinking right now. I wonder how nervous he is right now. I wonder blah 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 blah. Because I think about the coach too, and we talked a lot about
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
like, what would it feel like when you have? I mean, I get emotional thinking about what will happen when my athlete wins a pro card. There's specific people that I like.
It's coming. We
Right.
know.
And I'm just like, what, that day is going to come, and like, how am I going to feel? And it makes me emotional. And sometimes it's just, I mean, we have athletes competing this weekend. We have 3 athletes competing. All 3 of them have battled this year.
Mm-hmm.
Huge life changes, from moving to retirement to taking care of family members to
Relation-
yeah. And each of them have multiple things that were thrown at them this year. So even like, yes, we're talking about the Olympia and the top of the top, but like getting to the stage sometimes is a victory in itself. And being a coach that, you know, we care so much about, and I'm not trying to like blow us up as like the most caring people, but we do invest in our athletes, and that makes me emotional. That was my point, is like just having that athlete reach. I was giving feedback to one of my athletes today that's competing over the weekend, and I started like getting emotional on her like video review, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I need to like get myself together. But you live through those things with that person, and so I can't imagine some of these coaches like looking at their athletes locking in another win, or getting in the top 5, or
having to deal with stuff like, okay, we go back to last year, Hani and Chris. It was their first year together, and Chris hurt his bicep at the Olympia.
Yes.
At the Olympia. And now you, as a coach, this is your first year with this athlete, and you're like, okay, well, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Is this athlete going to blame me? So,
Yeah.
and that's one of the biggest things, is like to get around that and just understand that things do happen. And you, as a good coach, you really can't take things personally like that. I mean, you have to be curious and inquisitive and honest with yourself about what's happening in the situation. But yeah, it's just a tough spot, man. It's
That's
tough.
a good point.
There are a lot of ups and downs, and that's really one of the things I want to talk about. Was, as usual, Chris Bumstead, spitting wisdom, in his speech talked about how you can't try to numb out the bad of prep, and because when you do that, you numb everything else. You numb the good as well.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, life, bodybuilding prep is just like life, and there's going to be ups and downs. And when you try to numb one end, you necessarily just reduce the spectrum of your emotions. So your highs aren't as high. Yeah, your lows aren't as low, but your highs aren't as high. And there's just so much less enjoyment to be had in life when you don't have the juxtaposition of the good times versus the bad times.
That's a really good point. Yeah, he said, feeling the bad helped me be grateful for the good.
And then he talked about how he was talking to his family, and he's like, I don't know if I can do this. And they said, we don't care. Whatever you do, we're still going to love you just as much. And so it all goes back to having that circle.
Yeah.
And understanding that it takes a tribe. And if, I say this to Chris a lot, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And my entire life, I've been trying to go fast and trying to convince myself, well, I can go far too.
Yeah.
And staying focused for a long period of time on something has never been my strong suit. So since I met you, obviously I've been focused on one thing for probably the longest, except for Matt says but we're quickly closing in on that timeline too. So
Yeah.
It's been really fun. So
We evolve.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it seemed like he did want to make it a point that it was hard. It was hard
he's
for
just
him.
so genuine and authentic. And I think that's why so many people love him, because they understand. Like, he says things, and as a guy, you're just like, yes, that is exactly how I feel. But again, also as a guy, sometimes you feel like you're not allowed to feel these things. So
That's true. Yeah.
having one of the best in the world validate those emotions and those feelings, and tell you that there's strength in admitting them and leaning on your circle. That was one thing he talked about, is leaning on his wife now, right?
No, they're engaged.
Fiance.
Courtney.
Courtney
Yeah.
King, yeah. So and how that was like a game changer for him is when he decided to lean on her, and when he uses her for the support that she's there trying to give him, it's better for both of them. And we've experienced that too. Like,
Yeah.
when I try to hide things from you, like, we spiral until I actually open up and tell you what's going on inside my brain.
Yeah.
And allow you to help me. And man, that's been one of the hardest things, I think, for me, is letting someone else in and saying, maybe I'm not Superman, maybe I do also have issues that I'm trying to work through. So it can be really hard, but I think that to be successful in anything, you have to be willing to admit your faults. You have to be willing to admit your weaknesses, and you have to be willing to accept help from other people to fill in those voids.
Yeah.
So that you go into battle with a full suit of armor.
That's very well said. Yeah.
So,
thank you, Chris
that's all.
Bumstead. And TC. They're just different heights, that's all. No, just kidding.
Just a mix of Bumstead and Brett Contreras. But that's a topic for another
Oh,
podcast.
the hybrid. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, I really liked what you had to say there. I think you relayed his message very well. And there were some other men's classic competitors that,
Yeah, I want to say, like, Breon Ansley, he obviously brought a great package. He was talking about how he was going to be the most muscular on stage, and honestly, I kind of think that worked against him. I feel like his midsection was a little blown out especially if he stood next to Terrence Ruffin, who they're roughly the same height. Terrence's midsection is just so much smaller. He still maintained that classic physique. Yeah.
I thought my personal opinion was Terrence should have done better than Breon.
Yes. And I don't think he's going to move up to the Open because he got fourth in this competition.
That would make sense.
But I believe that his look is starting to lean more towards the Open class. Breon Ansley.
Breon, 212. He's talking
Sure.
212.
Yeah.
He's talking about going to 212. He announced earlier.
Oh, yeah, and he talked. Yeah, okay. So maybe he will.
Earlier this year, he said he was going to 212.
Then they changed the weight class requirement for the classic.
Right.
They bumped it up
because
for him.
he was like, it was interesting because we listened to the press conference. I think it was a press conference. And yeah, he was saying that he was going to do 212. Then they changed the weight classes and decided that he was going to actually stay in classic. And Chris Bumstead was interviewed, and he said, yeah, there were some people, and I'm not saying this is necessarily Breon, but I just find it interesting that Chris had said there were some people complaining about the weight classes being
more favorable.
to taller people. And then he just kind of smiled and he said, "That's okay. I don't need to fill out my class," or something like that along those lines. He said, "I'll weigh whatever I weigh." And I mean, enough said.
He doesn't have to say anything. And I think this year he probably talked the most smack out of any. Like last year, I feel like they brought him and Breon up on stage, and Breon was really trying to egg him on, and Chris was just like, "We'll see. We'll see. We'll see." Because he's not a trash talker. That's
No,
just not
he's
who he
not.
is.
He has a sly smile when
Yeah.
he says things. If you watch his YouTube, he does the same thing. He
Yeah.
like pokes at people.
Well, if you've seen his side chest, you've seen his little smirk.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he hits it and
He's
he knows
happy.
what he's doing.
He's
He knows
happy
what
with
he looks
that.
like, and he says, "Yep, that's it."
Yeah. So I found Classic to be very interesting this year. Probably one of the most interesting posing and interview. I just, yeah, it's grown on me. What about?
Urs did great. He also kind of poked fun at Chris for having his private gym while he's working out in a cold ass bunker in Germany
I
with a
remember
single
that.
bedroom apartment.
Yeah. Do the accent. Can you do the accent?
No, I can't do the accent.
He was very funny about how he was talking about.
Yeah.
I
So
work out in bunker.
yeah, and I love his posing routines. Like he always brings
Yeah.
something completely different than other people. This year, in the middle of his posing routine, he put in a iPhone ringtone and he acted like he was answering the phone. So I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm in the middle of my posing routine." And then he hangs up and he does his like little robot routine. But yeah, I think he brings a lot, just like you were talking about earlier with the showmanship. I think he brings a lot of that to stage. So he deserves a win in the future as well. But I just really think Bumstead, like he needs to kind of clear out to allow these guys to win, and that's what's gonna have to happen.
And there was talk of Chris Bumstead retiring at one point, and I think it was last year.
He just said, "When I'm done, I'll know." And it's not necessarily I'll go out on top or I'll go out when I lose. It's just when I'm done, I'll know, and that's what he says. And he's been I don't know how he does all of his training, and he has to pose for like, it looks like you said, his posing is just so on point. It looks like he poses for hours every single day of his life. So I don't know how he does that. And he also runs all these businesses because now he has he's got clothing lines, he's got 2 different supplement lines, I believe.
Yep.
So, but again, it boils down to having a team and being willing to delegate these things.
Yeah.
So stay in your lane, build your lane and understand what you're good at. And don't be afraid to say, "That's not my lane," and bring someone in whose lane it is. So like, just like our coaching, I'm the hypertrophy coach and you're the check-ins and the nutrition and the show path and the client handling, basically everything else. So I have the easy jobs. But that's what we're good at, right? Like you're good at handling people, and like, yeah, I can talk to people, but I'm good at writing programming and understanding movement and looking and doing movement assessments, and like we just play to our strengths, and we realized that, so we partnered up, and that's what reckless training is. So it's the same thing in anything else in life. I think building a business and building anything, you have to be willing to admit what you're not good at. You have to know and be comfortable with what you are good at and be willing to admit what you're not good at. So again, you can bring people in to fill those holes.
Yeah.
So
That's very well said. Yes, we're the mom and the dad.
yeah.
And we have a lot of children. Okay. Yeah. So Chris got 50,000. Ramon got 20. Urs got 12 in his third place. Fourth was Breon with 7,000. And fifth was Terrence with 6. So.
And on to the big dogs. So I couldn't find a picture of the top 5, unfortunately.
NPC News Online wouldn't let us pull up their official
Yeah, it was really
pictures.
weird. I'll show you guys for anyone watching. Like you click the men's awards and then you click on one of the pictures and it just doesn't want to show you. So
It's a secret. So sorry we can't show you on YouTube, but yes.
Oh, real quick, men's wheelchair, a new Olympia was crowned.
Yes. That was shocking because King Kong Kelly, I think, had won 5 years in a row.
And the first inaugural year that they didn't actually call him an Olympia champion. He said it should be 6, but
Right. I remember that. It wasn't official the first year. Do you have the winner?
yeah, the name is, oh man,
I think
Now I
he's
did
from
it.
Poland. I remember that.
it is Karol Milewski.
Yes.
or Karol Maluski.
Which he looked great. I saw his routine too, and he did a great job.
And then Harold Kelly, King Kong Kelly, number 2. Man, I don't even know if I want to try to pronounce this name.
See, it's hard.
Josu Fabiano Barreto Monteiro.
Oh, you
number
should have
3.
done the wellness names.
And then Mohamed Reza Tabrizi Nori is number 4. Number 5 is Gabriel and Andriuli.
Good. So I hope everyone wrote that down.
There's going to be a test.
But yeah, I think, yes. And Sydney Gilligan, who has won. So before we get to bodybuilding, she is a figure. I think she's similar to, like Chris Bumstead's situation. I see her pose and I just can't not pick her. She has like an absolutely stunning physique. I mean, obviously to win, you have to have a stunning physique. But she, I don't know, she just owns it. She's so confident, and she talks a lot about if you are not doing something to advance the day after the Olympia, like if you're not trying to beat me the exact minute after I have won, you're behind.
Mm-hmm.
She's talked about doing cardio the next morning after winning the Olympia. I mean,
there's just no quit.
She is a rare breed.
Yeah.
For sure. And she, I believe this is her 6th. I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry.
And now, having said that, you know, there is something to be said about taking time off. So running yourself into the ground is not necessarily the only way to advance yourself. So I just want to put that out there. Like, the going and working out the very next day after a competition is not the only way to advance yourself. You know, for everyone, it's going to look a little different. And you just need to understand, like for her, I'm sure doing cardio is cathartic. At this point in her career, it's just what she's used to. And keeping that same routine is just what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And there's another female competitor who, I forgot who, but we were talking about the food. And someone asked her like what she was eating the day after. Or
probably Ashley K. Are you talking about Ashley K?
Maybe. And it was just like, oh, I just like my chicken and rice.
Yeah, that sounds like Ashley K.
So...
I can't relate to that.
No, me neither.
I do enjoy my prep food, and I actually, I mean, I'm in my improvement season, still eating prep food, but more variety, and because I think like there's extremes to everything. Yes, you should not train 365 days a year to beat your opponent. And no, you should not eat chicken and broccoli and rice
every single meal
365 days. Yeah. And that's all that you're eating to beat your opponent. Your body is a very intelligent piece of machinery. So I think what it comes down to is the intentionality of your choices 365 days a year.
Yes.
Whether it's a little bit of leniency for recovery or mental space, like recovery. Well, I don't know. I'm running out of words, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
have intentionality behind every decision that you make.
Yeah. If you're going to relax. If you're going to train hard. Because it does all compound on each other, and different bodies are going to need different things. So, I did hear some people talk about like being, like extreme. They they approached the Olympia as this is a battle. I'm here to win. Everybody else is done. I'm locking it in. I've done all the things. And then I heard other people with very grateful hearts, and they're just happy to be here. They're thankful for the experience. They're here to enjoy it. There was a very extreme juxtaposition, I felt like, in interviews and press conference. I can relate more to the grateful attitude because I feel like the I'm here to battle is more stressful. But that's my personality. So I think it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
So
I think I probably come in with a little bit of both. You know, I think
you do.
Everything is a battle for me, but I mean, the posing song that I picked for my first show is "I'm Grateful."
Yeah.
It was because I just am. I'm grateful to be where I am, and like I've been through some injuries in the past, and I'm, you have to be grateful, and I think that makes for a less stress, like you said, a less stressful show day, and we were just talking about this the other day about how competitors look better the day after the show. A lot of times it's not necessarily because they go home and eat a bunch of food, but it's because they relax, they exhale, and all that stress, the cortisol goes away and their body
Man.
tightens up. So if you can come into a show day nice and relaxed, that is how you are going to bring your best look. I guarantee it. And I think practicing gratitude is is the easiest way to try to eliminate some of that cortisol issue on show day.
And I heard people talk about gratitude a lot at this Olympia too.
And speaking into existence, even if you are feeling anxious and feeling like it's about to be a battle, if you talk, the words that come out of your mouth are also the words that are in your head too. So
That's a good point. And then, okay, well, I guess we are talking about everybody. Women's bodybuilding, Andrea Shaw, she locked in her win. She was Miss Olympia last year. She locked it in again. I think she's very beautiful. I think women's bodybuilding can get a bad rap. Just looking too bulky and masculine. And I really think she did a beautiful job. I think she looked fantastic. And she was rocking the pink. Did we mention the pink?
wait, who won? Her?
Yes.
Oh, she's in the middle. They don't know what they're doing.
No, they bring that. That's one of my pet peeves. Besides the Olympia theme song, guys.
Oh, this is before they announced the winner.
Is they bring both in the middle.
Yeah.
And they announce the first place winner. So the second place person just stands there and waits for the first place Olympia to get awarded, and everybody's freaking out because that is that's the placement. And they just, while everyone's cheering and freaking out about first, they announce second place.
Yeah, 5, 4, and 3 all get more attention than number 2.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they wouldn't do that. Also, please don't play the theme song anymore. I'm not going to sing it. But it's a classic. I guess we'll just go with that. But yeah, okay, sorry, Sydney Gillian. She killed it.
And fitness?
Yes.
Let's touch on fitness because there was a kind of an upset.
Oh, wait, Gillian. I'm sorry, Gillian. Sydney. Oh my gosh. Figure. I was trying to find how many Olympias she's won, and she's won 7 consecutive figure Olympias.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's worth noting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for saying 5 and 6. She's clearly on to 7, so she's doing her cardio every day, guys. But yeah, okay. And yes, let's talk about fitness. This was another like curveball. I was like, what in the world is happening at this event? So my computer died, so all my notes are gone. Missy Truscott was Miss Olympia last year, and Whitney Jones has been Miss Olympia several years. Oksana, also. So I think Oksana, last year she was coming to the Olympia. She had an injury the day before. Can you imagine your whole entire year preparing for your return and you get an injury the day before?
Well, that's almost as bad as the day of.
Okay,
yeah. What happened to Missy Truscott today? I mean, at the Olympics.
Today. Yes. So Oksana, she had her injury. She did not compete last year. She came back this year and she locked in her place, which she's been a contender. Whitney Jones talked about how she admired Oksana getting into fitness. Like, I mean, I guess Oksana never ages and just continues to like be amazing. I think I saw that her last Olympia was sorry, I'm looking at pictures. So yes. Well, and okay, so why don't you talk about Missy Truscott from Miss Olympia last year to this year?
Yeah, I think it looked like she injured her knee during her a finals routine or something, but it was enough to make it so that she couldn't finish her routine. So she ended up not placing at all. They didn't even give her a placement of the, if you look on the results.
Yeah,
So,
they couldn't score her because halfway through her routine.
Yeah, which for fitness, like that's like integral. I mean, that's what you get graded on.
Well, like what can you do?
Yeah, it's rough.
If it's before, you can wrap yourself up, which Whitney Jones has been known to do. And she competed at Olympia with a broken leg and won. Okay. Whitney Jones has broken her neck, rehabbed, and come back and competed and won. She's tore an ACL. Wrap that bad boy up. Like you just fitness is amazing because you have two parts. You have to be you have the physical component where you're getting judged, and then you have the performance where you have to do this routine, and there's like several pieces of I don't know, criteria that need to be included in the fitness routine. And it's absolutely amazing. They get a little bit more freedom to do their like costume design and music and make it a performance. So when you're talking about like something that's fun to watch, fitness definitely fits that category. Yeah. It's crazy. And talking about Whitney Jones, I was watching the criteria for their physique prejudging. And I'm like, because I thought at first I was like, is this figure? And then I'm watching it. I'm like, that is Whitney Jones. And she is like, got so much energy on that stage. Like whatever whatever energy Whitney Jones has, I need some of it. She's like bouncing around, flipping her hair. And at first, like, I'm like, I've never seen a figure pose like this. And then when she turned around, I was like, that is Whitney Jones. So I had to like rewind it and watch the whole of the prejudging. But she's like, she danced off stage. If you watch her exit the stage, she is dancing off stage. So, like I said, I think there's certain individuals bring a really cool entertainment factor. They're not embarrassed. They're not stressed. They're there to have fun. And Whitney Jones also is one that I think has a lot of really wise words to share with people. I mean, she's been through a lot. And she talked about her two boys were at some football semifinal. I don't know much about football, but they were at some big thing, her two boys. And she said, she's like, I'm sad that I'm missing it, but we're athletes and we have things we need to accomplish. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And if my computer was alive, I would show you what notes I had for her and her meet and greet. But she's a really cool individual too. I have a lot of respect for her just from injury comebacks alone.
And I think the biggest upset here was the person who took number 2.
Yes.
This was her first Olympia, Taylor Learmont.
She's so young.
Yeah. This was her first Olympia and she came in and took second. Which, looking at her physique here, I don't necessarily think it's as big or impressive as some of the other people. It's not as cut up. But I mean, I didn't get to see her routine, but judging from what a lot of people have said, like her routine was very, very impressive. And I'm sure that's what put her in the top 5. So, and not to say her physique is unimpressive. I mean, I feel like she got bigger shoulders than I do. So,
well, their physique is 1/3 of their judging.
Yeah.
And the routine is 2/3. And she blew people away with whatever pro show she won. I'm sorry.
I think it's Legion.
Was that the one?
I think so.
She just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And she was unbeatable. So then now she's at the Olympia. It was her first Olympia. She was at the press conference. I can't imagine your first Olympia sitting in this press conference with all these people that are like the highest level. But she had a huge smile on her face, was enjoying her time, and good for her getting second place at her first Olympia. And they were talking about how this was a crazy fitness lineup.
Yeah.
That it was like one of the most competitive lineups they've ever seen for this category. So,
yeah. So that was great. So, okay. Men's Open?
Yeah.
You want to touch on women's physique? Sarah for
I did
ladies.
not watch women's physique. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. But
I think I don't know if she won last year,
she
but
did.
she was at the press conference last year too.
She did one. She won
So
last year, so she's retained her title.
yeah,
I mean, I remember seeing her last year and thinking, I don't know how anyone's going to beat
she's
her.
freaking huge. I
She
think
looks
she's
like
enormous.
she's got a crazy front lat spread,
Yeah.
like Cobra, and I still think that she maintains like
A modicum of femininity.
yeah. So I thought that I honestly wasn't really surprised that she locked it in again. But again, I don't follow women's physique that much. That's why we're not going to talk about it, because we don't want to talk about something we don't know a lot about. And I think that covers pretty much everybody. Andrea Shaw, we talked about her. Yeah, let's talk about men's open, which I also find very interesting to watch.
Yeah, so men's open, a big fan favorite this year was going to be Nick Walker, who actually ended up having to pull out. And I don't know if it was a calf tear or a hamstring
It was
tear.
a hamstring.
Yeah, but then I was reading something that Nick Walker congratulated Derek Lunsford and shared that he had a calf tear. So I don't know if Derek had a calf tear. That was kind of confusing to me, but
Oh.
regardless, so last year,
He did go to.
yeah, Nick Walker was there.
He was in the audience
Yeah.
watching and cheering for people, which I thought was,
Very sportsmanlike.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was third last year at the Olympia. Again, another person made it all the way to the Olympia. It's just like the theme.
But
And
that's what happens when you push your body to the limit. I mean, and like,
and that was part of the message that I took away from it. It's like, you're going to be extreme. You expect your body to hold up the whole entire time. You're pushing it to where it's giving you a little bit of a pushback.
yeah.
That is any sport.
Mm-hmm.
And bodybuilding, I mean, that falls into that category too. So.
I think it just like really solidifies the fact that bodybuilding is a marathon sport. It's a marathon mentality sport. And if you try to rush things, things are going to break. And so is powerlifting, honestly. And I think that's what happened to me. You know, I felt like I was right there. So I pushed and pushed and pushed instead of just taking a deload.
Well, even if
You hurt yourself.
I think even if you don't, even if you are taking things very, I mean, you're an example of this. You're taking it very intentional and strategic. You're still going to fall into your body pushing back because you are advancing in that extreme.
And it requires you to stay in constant communication with your body and be honest with yourself about what's happening. So, so last year, Derek Lunsford, in his men's open debut, took second place by 1 point, right? Because I'm pretty sure 2 years ago, I think 2021 is when he won the 212 title.
Yes, I think that's correct. That's what I remember.
So Derek Lunsford is the first person to win a Olympia title in 2 different divisions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right.
And it's crazy that he came so close in his first year doing it. He was 1 point away, literally 1 point behind Hadi Choopan.
Yeah, I looked that up. From Hadi got 7 and Derek got 8.
And Nick Walker was third with 15.
Yeah.
So
That's
like
how close it was.
it was like a split decision between Hadi and Derek for first place. And now I will say this year, going back to what you were saying about, you know, showmanship, Derek Lunsford's routine, I think he did a much better job at producing showmanship for like during his routine. Hadi kind of just like walked back and forth across the stage. He did most
Hadi
muscular.
was hype.
Yeah, but like he did like 2 poses. He did like most muscular, and then he did his oblique flex. You know, and like the crowd loved him, but he like Lunsford, like he actually like showcased his entire physique.
He did a really good job.
Yeah, and his back spread, like holy cow, man! And then his V taper, his friggin' midsection is just phenomenal abdominal control. So I think they did a really good job.
And he's in his routine, he would smile. It was very like captivating. I don't know what it was about like everything that he did, but like I think it was a side chest. I'm gonna do it right now for you. But he did a side chest and then turned his head to the audience and smiled, and it was like, I need to take a picture of that. Like it was just so aesthetic and perfect. And I really think like there's a link between knowing your body, knowing your angles, your facial expressions, your movements. Like, it is an art. And I think he just put all of those pieces together really well. I enjoyed his routine a lot.
Yeah, he did a really good job, I think. And number 3, Samson.
Oh yeah.
Man, he did a great job coming up from, I think he was still top 10 last year, but he did a great job coming up to the top 5. And he's just he's taller than either Derek or Hadi. So I think it's just going to take him a little more time to put on the same amount of, like, quote unquote size that the other 2 guys have, but he's definitely going to be a contender as well. He's maybe not as much of a mass monster as Ronnie Coleman, but he definitely has very similar genetics, and I think that he'll have the title eventually as well. I don't know if Derek's going to come back next year and try to do it again. I mean, why not at this point? But $400,000, pretty attractive, so he probably will.
Yeah, Samson won the Arnold
Yeah.
this year. He said it was the greatest moment of his life. I like listening to him talk. Also, I felt like he had like a very substantial, I don't know if that's the right word, personality, but I just liked listening to him talk. He said, I think that this was the first time that his family had seen him compete as a pro.
I didn't hear that, but
yeah, I think that was in an athlete interview. I think he had a sibling in the United States. He's from UK, yeah. And then he had a sibling in Germany. He says, so it just doesn't always work out that they can come to my shows, but they're here at the Olympia, and this is the first time they're seeing me compete as a pro. I was like, wow. And yeah, I mean, if you see this picture, he's just massive.
Yeah, he's got a very impressive physique. His lat spread is just crazy, but again,
gosh.
his height allows for these spaces in here, and like his lats, I mean, Lunsford's lats are just like, holy cow! I don't know how he made his back that big. His back shot is just a winning back shot.
But I think that they talk about space.
And like Derek, he just closes that space. There's like no space there.
So
and you still see he's got a tiny waist, whereas this guy, like, it's just bigger. But it's because he's a bigger man.
So in certain in certain poses, they will look for negative space between like your arm and your chest or your waist or stuff like that, because that's a place where muscle could be. So
yeah, so you want to really work to, and I have a problem with that in my side chest. Like it's hard to close those gaps.
especially when you're lean, you have to have the mass there.
But yeah, I think Hadi wasn't very happy about losing the title. He walked off before all the pictures were done.
Yeah.
And there's some people online who tried to like make excuses. Oh, he's deaf. He doesn't speak English. This, that, and the other. He thought they took the picture, and then he congratulated his teammate and walked off. No one else was walking off, so I don't know if I can lend credence to that, but
We don't know what really happened.
yeah, I mean, losing, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on over in the Middle East right now. He is representing his country. He was the first Iranian Mr. Olympia. He lost it. They do have a different sense of like honor and responsibility
That's a good point.
than a lot of people in America are used to. So there's a lot of things at play, but there's definitely something to be said about, like I said earlier, when you lose, that's really when your character comes out.
The Persian Wolf.
Yeah.
He is fun to watch on stage. He is so
He's got some
excited.
energy. Yeah.
He's hyped. Yeah. He loves I mean,
He loves the competition too.
Yeah.
And like the press conference, they always bring him to the press conference, even though he can't speak English.
Uh-huh.
And, he talks trash like the best of them,
Yeah.
and not necessarily like overtly. He doesn't tear anyone else down. He just says, I know the work that I put in, and I'm confident that I came here to win.
Yeah.
So I definitely respect that about him, is he doesn't feel the need to bring anyone else down. He just knows what he is, and he knows what the package that he's bringing to stage. And that dude works his butt off. And I think, Hani asked if he would mind if Chris Bumstead had a workout with them, and he's like, does he work, or something like that. He was like hesitant because he didn't think Bumstead would be able to pace him. He's like, I come to work, so like he needs to make sure that he's here to work too.
Yeah.
So like I definitely respect
Chris
his work
Bumstead. So yeah, he is an animal in the gym. He's
Yeah.
been told he's been touted as an animal in the gym.
But you have to be to
He's
get that high.
He's the Persian wolf. He's definitely, I mean, yeah. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, so like between him, Lunsford, Dowda, I mean, it was tight. I felt like I do think that, I mean, I would agree with the placements. I think that they were spot on in my personal opinion, not being a judge, but yeah.
And then I didn't know the 5th place. Oh, yes, I do. I just never know his name. I feel like
He's wearing green too.
Andrew Jacked, I think is what he goes by. And that's why when they put
That's a good bodybuilder name.
Yeah.
Andrew Jack.
Yeah. And I think his physique is exceptionally impressive. I think he didn't win. He was top 3, I think, at the Arnold too. But I just feel like he has really good proportions, like really good aesthetic proportions.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he's definitely going to be another contender. Look at these friggin' triceps, man. It's just ridiculous.
It's just hanging off his body.
So, yeah, he took 5th place. 4th place was, you know, the eternal Brandon Curry. Brought a great package. I thought he brought a really tight waistline. I thought very, very good conditioning. So yeah, I think, you know, the top 5 was just, it was a good pick. So.
Brandon Curry was, he did not make it to the press conference because he was in the hospital.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Dude was in the hospital with ulcers for the press conference, which was the day before the Olympia started, and then he shows up and takes 4th place.
Yeah, at the press conference, they're like, we don't know if he's coming or not. They were trying to figure out if he was going to be competing, and no one knew anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there he is. Yeah. So, and I really like Brandon Curry. I've seen him in press conferences in the past, where he just is an honorable person. He is not a smack talker. He comes in like the last press conference he saw, he comes in like a full suit. He has a briefcase. And he just comes there, answers questions, very like
Professional.
Yeah. Very kind, very positive, very like, I feel like he is very wise as well too. And then just goes about his business.
Mm-hmm.
He's not interested in the fanfare and the battle between
the drama.
Yeah. He's just, I'm here to do my job.
Yeah. And who knows, like, you know, when you're in a hospital and when you have ulcers, you're not feeding like you need to be. You're not filling out those glycogen stores.
Seriously.
So who knows what he would have done if he did not have that issue the week of the Olympia.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And like I said, he still took 4th. That's crazy.
They have to like, the carb up that happens.
I mean, shoot, your bikini girls are at like 3,000 calories sometimes. It's crazy. You know, I mean, not all of them, but
No,
there are some.
In an improvement season.
So it's, you know, it's wild. Well, one had like 400 carbs, 400 grams of carbs. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But my point is that guys who are 275 pounds of solid muscle, they need to eat like thousands of calories to, you know, during their linear loading phase. So yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how they do it. You want to try?
Nah.
We'll do a live podcast and try and eat carb up bodybuilding.
Yeah, I'll go through a 10,000 calorie day.
Call
see
Brandon.
how I feel the next day.
Say, Brandon Curry, what did you have to eat? And we're gonna do it for you. Just okay, yeah. So Andrew Jacked. Okay, yes. It says Brandon Curry was 4th last year, so he kept his 4th place this year. And Samson Dowda, yeah, he moved up 3 places from last year. So yeah, they're progressing. It's evolving. It's when you're in that top spot, I think that's the hardest place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, good job for Hottie coming in 2nd. I mean, there's been people that has been 1st and then not even been top 5 the next year.
Yeah, like Big Ramy, and he didn't even show up this year.
Yes, that was another one. I said I'm not going to Olympia if Big Ramy's not going to the Olympia.
I think he took 4th at the Arnold and then pulled out of the Olympia. So
he said that he's had some. I mean, I tried to Google it because I was like, where is this guy? he had some injuries and stuff going on. He said it just wasn't worth trying to push for the Olympia until he made those corrections.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very wise. Oh, sorry, you guys.
It scared me.
My computer
Like,
started playing
who's
an
walking
ad.
in here?
So if you heard that, I'm sorry. But yeah, so let's talk about how much money these people have. Derek is 40. No,
Nope.
$400,000 richer. Hadi is 150. Third, Samson 100,000. Brandon Curry's 40,000, and Andrew Jecht $35,000. So it was a dogfight. Some of these competitors, man, it was close. It was exciting though. It was fun. So this year it was at Florida. The Olympia was in Florida. Next year we'll be in Vegas. And
I think, yeah, I just want to mention one more thing. Like, as these competitors were on stage posing, their physiques were literally changing in front of your eye holes.
that's eye holes. We're gonna have to explain that to people at some point.
Eventually, yeah, that's another podcast.
That's very true. I felt like that was happening with Daraja.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, is she getting tighter with her posing? I felt like that was actually happening. Other people were commenting about different, other.
Especially the men's open, like they were saying how they changed.
That's where it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, man, so-and-so is getting tighter. So-and-so looks like, posing is, I feel like, an exercise.
Well, it's tough. Yeah, it's a full body isometric, and you're squeezing as hard as you can. And so it's moving all your blood glucose into your glycogen stores to be used for fuel, which is necessarily going to change how you're looking. So, yeah, it was just very interesting to see, because I feel like I haven't noticed that before. So it was interesting this year. I'm not saying that it never happened before, but I just feel like I did not notice it before. So
yeah, I don't feel like I noticed it before
yeah,
either.
it was interesting. And I even feel like kind of classic was doing the same thing. I feel like some of the side chest pose, like the definition was different on the guys, from one side chest to the next. So yeah, it's just very interesting. I think that it's worth noting, like when you're carb loading, I think it's really important to do posing. Whatever muscles you're going to be using and trying to show off in your competition, I think it's important to at least activate them. You don't want to use up all those glycogen stores, but you need to tell your body, hey, this is where we need to prioritize our glycogen stores.
Well, TZ's gotten instructions from posing coach to do posing to help,
move stuff around. Yeah.
right, while he's carb loading for a show. So it does something. Yeah. Okay, so other random fun facts about the Olympia. I really liked that they talked about, I think it was Dan Solomon talked about it being an audience of athletes. And that's why it was kind of cool. The Olympia is like, how many football players, is it only football players that go to NFL games? But most athletes within bodybuilding are the ones that show up to like these events, and the sport is growing.
And even if you don't compete in bodybuilding, you're here watching the Olympia because you work out and you live the lifestyle, and maybe not to the extreme that these guys are doing it, but you appreciate the sacrifice that they make on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to like celebrate, or work towards becoming a better version of yourself, which we touched on, and celebrate others wanting to do the same thing. That's where I think it's important. Like, yeah, in bodybuilding, you can like, so-and-so is my opponent, I need to beat them, whatever, like chip on your shoulder you have about whatever other competitor, whether you're amateur, pro, it doesn't matter. You can develop these like weird animosities towards people that, whatever, I'm going off here. But that person is still trying to evolve to be a better version of themselves. And so whether or not you guys agree on everything, I think there's something about celebrating other people trying to do the same thing that you're doing. So,
Well, and one of my TC-isms, as your mom calls it,
yeah.
no one above you will try to tear you down.
Yes.
Only people below you can do that. So just remember that the next time you have something negative to say about someone, and understand that if you're trying to tear someone down to make yourself feel better, like, you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah. That's a good
So
point.
be supportive in other people's journeys if you want that same thing reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that person is a dick to you, it doesn't matter. You don't have to stoop to their level. Remember that. Remember, if they're trying to tear you down, that just means you're doing something right.
It's
So
easy.
keep doing it.
It's easier to be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a critic is the easiest job in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that TCism. Yes, and this was the 59th edition of the Olympia, so next year will be the 60th. Whoop whoop. Let's see. Oh, here's some random thing. We're just shooting from the hip here. Issa talked about her hamstrings were too rope-like in one of her shows this year. That was part of her feedback. So making sure that there's not a bunch of separation between your hamstrings for bikini is something judges are looking. I mean, I did not see Issa's hamstrings, so feedback noted. Also, so if you follow Issa, you know that her front pose is like crazy good. She has gotten judge feedback that she's turning too much to the front with her upper body.
She's trying to twist too much. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
something else to consider if you are a body like Issa's. So, yeah, I think those are just some random fun facts from the end here. But yes, tan being too dark was something interesting this year.
All the Easter eggs for people who've hung in there for the hour and 45 minutes that this podcast took.
Oh my gosh, you could have just watched the Olympia while you're listening to us. Yeah, and then Oksana, she's a 5-time fitness Olympian. She was injured last year. She spent 2 years preparing for this with this routine. So she prepared this routine for 2022. Got injured. Came back 2023. And 2017 was her last Olympian win. And I also like that people were saying something specific to their country of origin because they felt a huge responsibility to represent them. Like, Maureen talked about the Philippines. Oksana said something in Russian to her country. And then, who's the other one? Francielli said something in her finals when she accepted her award in Portuguese to her country of Brazil, which I thought was really beautiful. Which also Francielli has a 15-year-old daughter. So, I don't know. She just how did she do that?
15 or someone else had a 5-year-old. I don't know if it was the Olympia, but I remember us talking about that. And I said, that means 5 years ago she was pregnant. And you were like, yeah, and she was here 3 years ago too, or 2 years ago or something. That means it doesn't matter. But like the things that these athletes do, they're just some, and I was talking about this to Paul today, that they're just some amazing people out there. And it's just amazing. And it just shows you what the human body is capable of when your own brain does not stand in your way. Because just like Hillary posted just this morning,
Our client Hillary.
Yep, that generally speaking, you are what is standing in your own way. And when you make the decision that do or do not, there's no try, right, Yoda? And when you make the decision that there is no option to veer from the path, all of a sudden, reaching your goals becomes so much easier. And just like Hillary said again, easier might not be the right word, but just much more clear cut. And when you're willing to, like the Marines say, embrace the suck, when you're willing to do that and you actually kind of look for that discomfort to know that you're on the right path and know that you're doing the right thing, when you seek comfort, like I read something today that tension is you changing and evolving, and relaxation is you being yourself and like not growing, right? So looking for that discomfort in your life and seeking it out and intentionally putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations is how you will grow as a person. It is how you will grow as an athlete. So
I would agree with that. I felt that if we're talking about personal takeaways, I think that's a good way to kind of wrap this up. I felt watching that Olympia and listening to those athletes that I did feel that I need to be more uncomfortable. I have to be okay with being more uncomfortable, with stretching myself a little bit more. And I'm not just talking about in the gym. I'm talking about like delegating time, how I'm structuring my day, and having delineating lines between work and downtime. I felt like those were like, and it's for your partner too.
Mm-hmm.
If I am requiring more because I want to be more comfortable and I'm asking more from my partner, that's taking away from your athletic goals. And not that you can't lean on each other and help each other out. We talk about that. We talk about a support system and how that does further the other person in their goals. But are you taking too much?
Yeah.
And it just gave me some things to think about and reflect upon, and also helps me get out of bed earlier in the morning to do more in my day, because time is precious, and what goals we have set out for ourselves as coaches and athletes requires that diligence. And yeah, I think you can watch. I also had separate thoughts watching the Olympia, watching Bikini. I immediately thought, wow, I have so much farther to go. I think
Which again, every bodybuilder has body dysmorphia.
I was just, yeah, and maybe people did have that thought watching the Olympia or looking at Instagram and looking at these, people they admire and thinking, oh, wow, if only I could look like that, or I'll never get to that stage. Or, I had some of those negative thoughts too. And Bikini ended, I was like, well, my waist will never be small enough, and my scoliosis will hold me back, and I'll always be crooked. Like, it's very easy to fall down the trend of what is wrong with you. And right after Bikini was the wheelchair Olympia. And I was like, well, that is not a shot to the heart. Like, there is a lot that I can be grateful for. So, yeah, I think that the sports are exciting. They're just like bodybuilding helps us evolve as individuals. And watching the sport and learning from other people can also help you evolve as a person, whether it's what you don't want to be like and don't want to do, because there's plenty of people like that in the world where you have that interaction. You're like, that's not for me. Or, wow, I really admire that. I need to adopt that mentality, or I need to adopt that habit because I want to be a better version. So yeah, those are just kind of my takeaways. Anything else you want to add? Any more TC-isms?
I don't think so. I think my takeaway was like almost, you could say, the opposite. Like I'm pretty good at suffering. I mean, that's growing up as a guy. That's kind of what you're told. That's your job, suffer in silence, and be the support. So, my takeaway was asking for help, because when I don't, you suffer too. And I know that was a bone of contention between us. Like, I drove you crazy because you couldn't figure out how to help me, and you could see me suffering.
Yeah.
You can only hide it for so long. So, putting your pride down and saying I need some help, that is how you're going to be successful in anything. So, but like you said, knowing the balance,
right,
is how you can be successful as a team. So, yeah, it was great.
I think that's good. I think being connected with your inner self, you're gonna have different takeaways.
Yeah.
From different events. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. That's our Olympia recap. Hopefully you found it interesting. We love the athletes and sport. We think it's super cool. Hopefully we'll be there next year.
Oh, we'll be there next year. We'll be at the Arnold, and we'll be at the Olympia. We decided that those are two events that we want to be at, and we'll also be at the Miami International Fitness Expo, which will be June 1st, at the Miami Airport Convention Center.
Yes. And we'll be at more events too, but those are the things that we are working on currently.
Yeah.
Have active things we have going on at those things. But yeah, we wish our athletes this weekend the best of luck. Michael, Jana, and Robin. They are battled to get to this stage, so we're excited to go celebrate them. And we have some other people from Reckless Training that are coming to cheer us on and cheer those athletes on and observe the sport. I mean, you learn a lot from being in the environment, so we're excited to be part of it again. And then the next weekend we'll be doing more. So
yep,
we'll keep you guys up to date with all of our events and stuff happening. If you liked this episode or you like our Reckless Training podcast, please do us a favor and leave a review. I can't thank you guys enough for the positive reviews that you've been leaving, the 5-star ratings. It's just, there's lots of people out there, some people that are not so supportive, and a ton of people that are. So we appreciate the people that take the time to write us something positive and let us know how the podcast helped them.
Yeah.
And you can also find us on Instagram if you have questions. TC's at Longshot Gamble. I'm at Chris Nicole _IFBB Pro. And our team website, or our team Instagram, is reckless_training. You want to do some more of the outro? No, I'll keep going. We also have a website, recklesstraining.com. You can, there's a contact form if you have questions. If you don't want to, I mean, you can message us on Instagram as well. But
If you want to send in requests for podcast topics, we love talking about stuff.
let us know what you want to hear.
Eventually, we're going to start doing some live question routines, not routines, but like episodes.
Q&A.
Yeah. So definitely feel free to reach out. Like, we love answering questions. We love helping athletes reach their goals, whether or not they're our clients.
We'll have interviews coming too. We're working on some.
Yeah, we're working on some interviews here, so
we got some cool people.
Stay tuned.
We got a cool list. And yeah, we also have a media tab on our website, so you can look for all of our content there to help follow and support. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for taking a look at us and watching me plug my computer in. Feel free to leave comments, likes, subscribe. Everything that you do, those little things matter to us.
Yeah, they all add up.
So thank you for everyone that has already.
And all the shares on your Instagram stories, guys, we really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
So great.
Yeah. So, all right. So thanks guys for listening. TC, take us out.
Just remember, as always, work hard, stay humble, and train reckless. Yeah, hit it.
I don't know what button to hit.
The big red one.
Oh, oh my gosh.